I'm trying to formulate a stance for so I don't have a shaky cam all the time. I got it down to the right hand thing. Gotta keep it in the right hand, otherwise I'm gonna have thumb cam. And what I'm doing is I'm tucking in my elbow like a martial arts thing, and I'm keeping my elbow close to my side. So I'm gonna try to be really aware. And also that going out of focus thing is driving me nuts. But this is neither here, there, anywhere, or over there. Last night I talked about, or whenever it is going to be posted, I talked about how I when I take plant medication sometimes, it jostles your thoughts maybe and gives you like a different perspective on something, so it can be good, you know. But, and I mentioned that how I had come up with all these like crazy breakthroughs or things I thought were significant, and I started taking all these notes. So there's like 5 pages of notes. There's nothing in there. There's nothing in there. Like there's a couple things, like a few things, and there's some stuff. Excuse me, long COVID. There's some stuff I already talked about. So it's that what I was saying. How you think you have like a brilliant idea or something, and or you think you wrote a great song, and then the next day you're like, this is fucking garbage. There was a couple things that were interesting. I wanted to. I made a notation about how this pop culture thing, where they seem to be tanking all these famous entertainment media IPs. There's a large genre of these guys on YouTube, and it's lucrative for some of them, that they just freak out about it, like all the time. It's been going on for years now. Like, are they gonna make the Care Bears are gonna be woke? You know, it's like, what? You know, they're scraping the bottom of the barrel for this stuff. And you know, Star Wars, yeah, I'm with ya. Marvel, okay. And then you start getting into stuff like Battlestar Galactica and like you know, Blade Runner, like these kind of second tier type franchises. I mean, I don't think Blade Runner is second tier. I think that's fucking number one. But you know what I'm saying, like the less popular stuff. And it seems like they've gone through all that because they've ruined all of them, and they're still going. So more annoying than that is these dudes that just talk about it over and over again. It's the same thing. And I talked about before how a lot of them are from Hollywood. They're definitely there, some of them, to control the flow of conversation. Like they know there was going to be some pushback to the shit. So with these guys, with the job of these guys is to be a gatekeeper where they make sure the conversation moves in a certain way. They avoid talking about certain things, and their guys get promoted really heavily. I've watched that happen since I think it was like probably 2018, after the second Star Wars sequel movie. Everybody freaked out because it sucked so bad. These guys appeared like almost overnight, and they were just everywhere, right? And the way it would work is there'd be one guy, and you just start seeing him in your feed all the time, and then you know, then another guy would show up, this new face, and then you'd start seeing him in your feed all the time, and then you'd notice he's going on all these other shows, right? Like the cross-pollinating, which is something, I mean, that happens on YouTube, of course, but it just felt unnatural, you know? It didn't seem organic, and I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. And this leads to a larger point of what's going on here with this destroying of the IPs. And by destroying them, what I mean is changing the what they were about, changing the core ideas of or the story or the people that were involved, to change them to something that's more what they consider updated, modern society, world outside your window, which is actually world outside the window at that particular zip code in California. But the point is with that, right, they're doing this on purpose. And people always talk about, how can Disney, look all the money they're losing, go woke, go broke. They don't care about money. These people work for a team, right, that prints the fucking money. Money's not an issue. And then you have guys that go on like, the creative people in Hollywood are so bankrupt. It's like, no, they could fucking do something good if they wanted to. They're not. It's just, it's messaging, right? So they're putting all this messaging into these productions, and there are people that are really upset about it. But what it is 20 years from now, right? This media will still exist. And people coming up in those, this is, I think, what their idea is. People coming up during those years will just get used to that being the standard. You know, the white guy is the bad guy, or he's in that buffoon. That'll just be how it is. And what their intent is a magic spell, of course. They want society to be this way. And I'll get into why later. Hopefully, I promise not too later. But they want society to be this way. So they're trying to manifest it in the way like I always talk about. You know, they're putting these ideas and these thoughts out there. So even if you look at it and you go, oh, this is retarded, it's still going into your subconscious. And as the years go on, there'll be less people saying, oh, this is retarded, because they don't know any better, because this is all they're getting. Right? So like you think like 30 years from now, all this stuff they're cranking out now with this kind of, with the modern messaging, is going to be the bulk of like entertainment media for kids or teenagers or whoever coming up. They're going to grow up with this stuff. And the old school stuff, or which it would be now, things that we're used to the way they were done, is going to be a very small percentage. And as well as us being a little bit older and not caring, we'll kind of age out of it if we haven't already. And I would say most of us have, but we could still be upset about what they're doing to this stuff. So then it becomes the norm. And how we look at it and go, oh, this is bullshit, they're doing this demographic dirty. Less people will say that as time goes on, because they don't have any anything to compare it to. You know, that society is just all doing this. I mean, commercials. It's not just these genre entertainment. It's in everything. It's in everything. It's a definite move. And as time goes on, there'll be less people screaming about it. They knew there would be, during this time period, people screaming about it. Because they have this way, it seems like they're fucking time travelers or something. They're not. But it can seem that way sometimes. Because they knew during this period there'd be a lot of pushback. But this pushback is only going to be during this period. Because people like us are around during this period and will voice our displeasure. But they're just going to keep rolling. You know, there's not going to be like a course correction, because it's not about money or anything like that. So this is just going to keep rolling the way it is. And you know, you're a kid, you grew up with this stuff, and whether your front brain is trying to logically figure this out, and I would sometimes too. Like I remember noticing in #noticing in Star Wars. I'm like, why are all the fucking bad guys English? You know, I mean, I think in that case it was just because they were shooting over there, or whatever, or maybe not. I have no idea what the whole point of that was, but I did pick it up, and you will pick up those things. But if it's just ubiquitous and it's everywhere, and it's air quotes just how it is, you don't question it as much. You're just like, oh yeah, he's the bad guy or whatever, and that's just what happens as time goes on. That effect takes hold more. People like us yell about it less, but they knew at this time there would be people who would object to it. So they have these guys in place. I mean, these are, in my opinion, a lot of these guys are plants, like the whole neurotic crew over there. Because if you look at these guys into their personal lives, you'll notice that a lot of them are from Hollywood. And not just them. There's a lot of the bigger YouTubers for genre film related stuff are from Hollywood, or work in some capacity, or are still working there. I mentioned that on one of these guys' comment sections, not like as some like actually like, you're from Hollywood. It was just kind of a joke. I made it into a joke. It was fine. He didn't like that. He got real mad. He wrote like 4 paragraphs, and basically his gist was like, maybe not 4, maybe 2. It was big. I think my mind is thinking it was worse than it was, but he was mad about it. And his thing was, yeah, I'm from Hollywood. That means I got sick of their, you know, whatever, their woke shit or whatever, and I left. And that's why I'm ex-Hollywood. And another thing you'll notice is, if you look at these guys, noticing hashtag how you doing, you'll see that there's a lot of criminal records in there. Involvement with the police, some involvement with agencies, you know. Does it mean anything? I don't know. Maybe it means nothing. But it's certainly something that's there. And it's not uncommon among these guys, especially the ones that are doing this, crying about Care Bear shit. So they knew there would be a backlash to this. They put these guys out there basically so that they can control the narrative for the opposition. It's classic controlled opposition. It's how they do things. You know, it's how they do things. And you know, I don't have any problem with those guys. Whatever, that's good. They're, you know, I don't like what they're doing. I don't like that they work for the beast. But I don't care. You know, whatever. Most people work for the beast. You know, what are you going to do? It'd be great if they changed their lives or turned around. But usually, when you're at that point, they don't put anyone that's going to spur or drop the spaghetti on them. They don't put anyone in a position like that. You know, they bet their guys pretty well. So they'll keep the hate mob from asking certain kinds of questions. Not by saying don't talk about anything, but just by having a strong narrative in a certain direction. You'll notice there's always well, you know what? I could go on this all day, pointing out all the things. I'm just saying this is what I think, in my opinion. So, they want to destroy I can ask. So they want to destroy, or not destroy, they want to reshape society. One of the ways they're doing it is through media, mass media, because mass media is, you know, it's part of life. Most people wake up in the morning, the first thing they do is check their phone for news or something. I go over to X because I'm a man of discerning taste. But yeah, people are so connected to media now that it can shape their world. Even if they think what they're seeing is silly, their subconscious just will settle it as that's just the way it is after a while. And the people that have the biggest problem with them, as time goes on, they'll be weeded out, there'll be more of this stuff around, people will care less, and then that'll just be the way it is. And they're trying to shape society to be this way, to ostracize certain people or to downplay certain people's accomplishments, so then they can just demonize and what they want. And this is gets into schizo world, but it's, I mean, we're already firmly in schizo world. I think you'd know if you pop see what he sounds like. But nice. It's good. So anyway, there's a group of people, right, that they're afraid of, because there's only one group of people that could mount any kind of protest to their takeover, whatever you want to call it, New World Order. They already have them, or they already run everything anyway. But there's a group of people that's a significant threat to them. Not because they're special or they're supreme in any way, but they happen to have the right combination of average character stats and resources. They're just capable enough to mount some kind of to tell them to fuck off. So they got to get rid of them. And also, these people follow a holy doctrine that includes getting rid of this particular demographic. It includes getting rid of everyone that's not in their demographic, but the toughest group they got to get rid of first is this particular group that they have in the crosshairs, you know? We all know what I'm talking about. I don't have to say it, right? you hear when people start talking about this stuff, people will ridicule them. Like, what are you talking about? This power. Well, they say that for a reason, because they don't want you talking about it. They don't want you talking about it. You'll notice that anytime people ridicule an idea or a person or some kind of concept, and they get really heated about it, it's pretty obvious why. You know what I mean? Or at least for me and like a lot of people, it's like they do that because they don't want you discussing that. They are talking about that or pointing it out or hashtag noticing. They don't want that to happen. Now, this particular group of people, they knew they were a problem a long time ago. So they went gunning for them a long time ago. In fact, they started where arguably some of the best and brightest of this group of people are. And that's Germany. They started there to destroy those people. Look at Germany pre-World War II. What was going on there? Dresden, Weimar Republic. Well, Dresden was, I mean, that was the firebombing. They killed a lot of people there. They somehow determined that these were the whitest of this, well, I think the cat's out of the bag here. We're talking about white people. Of those white people. So they had to focus on them, and man, did they really fuck them over. They made it so that not only did they lose any kind of threat capacity they had, but they immobilized them in their eyes maybe for forever, or at least for quite a few future generations, with a lot of fuckery. I don't have to get into that, but you know, I think some of us know what the fuckery was. It was all designed. It was all, like, people think that the thing came out of World War II. World War II was created to have the thing. This is all backwards built. It's all reverse engineered, because they're not time travelers, but they do know, they do have a way of getting in and out of the timeline. I talked about that before. It's kind of out there, but I believe it's possible, you know, where they have a way to get out of the 3D and kind of dip into the travel dimension, which is the fourth dimension. We call it the travel dimension. And again, dimensions are different in geometry and physics than they are in what I'm talking about here, which would be a spatial dimension, one that could be inhabited or you could put something in. But basically, traditionally in this concept, the fourth dimension is just the travel dimension. Like, you imagine, Owen Benjamin had a great way to put this once, where you, what do you call it? Like a movie theater, the projector is the fifth dimension. The screen is the third dimension, like this right here. And the travel dimension is the beam of light coming from the projector, hitting the screen. So they found a way to dip into there. So time keeps flowing like a river to the sea, to the sea, to the... Time only exists here. Doesn't exist anywhere else. So if you leave this dimension, this area, this band of frequency, and you dip out of it, well, you can go, if you come back to it, you can go in any place you want. You know, it only exists here. There's only linear stuff here. You know, like I was seeing the other day too, an X post where someone talked about, they were trying to say, you know, no matter what happens in the afterlife, it's going to be hell because you're there for eternity, right? Even if it's heaven, you're there forever and ever, and the nightmare of, but it's not going to be like that because there's no time there. So if there's no time there, then you don't have the concept of time. You don't have it wearing down on you. It's just not a thing that exists. It's just you're living your life, you're doing what you want, and time just isn't a factor. It's hard for us to comprehend. I would say, you know, it's almost impossible for us to comprehend in our current situation. That, you know, an area without time, hard to think about, but that's what I believe is the situation. So they're moving out of time, and they come back in, and you know, now CERN, I believe they're trying to further manipulate it, because that's not good enough for them. These guys, like, they fucking don't hedge their bets. They every time I say that wrong. Hedging your bets, you know what? Fuck it. They make sure that they make sure they cover their bases. You know, they don't leave anything to chance. Nothing to chance. Because if they leave just a little wiggle room, one of us assholes is going to wiggle out of it. And we already are. You know, and that's nothing to do with our own awareness or anything like that. It has to do with their technology is shit in the bed. Their veil is breaking down. So that's why we're seeing this stuff. That's why we're able to comprehend some of this stuff. I like to say it's because we're all big-brained, but, you know, I know I'm not, and I don't think a lot of other people have the kind of capacity to think like that. It was gifted to us from their failing stuff, you know. So they want to, just like I talked about the other day about what you imagine in the ether. The idea is to have it have an effect here. That's what they're doing. They're just populating mass media with this idea that this certain group is taking the vote to the Grey Havens, because when was the last time you saw a African American army take over a nation, or a feminist army take over a nation, or an LGBT army take over a nation, or a Mexican army take over a nation? Not in a very long time. Some of those groups never, and they never could. Not because they're not capable of having a tactical mind to do that. They just don't have the thing that the white group has, where they have the numbers, they have the average stats, and they have the resources. And that's just what it is. So they're not worried about those other groups. Those other groups may cheer on the attack on these people. But what I don't think they understand, or what they don't seem to understand, is if they were to get rid of their hated group, they would just like roll over everybody else. I mean, I think the idea on that side, on Team Blue, is that they think, yeah, it's going to be like this utopia, just gay people and black people, and it's going to be wonderful. Even white man's going to be good. No, they're going to scoop you guys up really fast. They don't like you. They don't. They don't like anybody that's not in their clique. They're just using you, you know, to go after their enemy. Once their enemy is gone, they're just going to send out fucking trucks or something. Or those corpse munching things that Boston Dynamics is coming up with, where they have these robots, right? I talked about it before, where they power themselves. They get their energy to move. Their fuel is organic material, and they're made for I guess the idea is battlefields where they can go and just munch corpse. So they made a corpse munching machine. So if they have that kind of technology, they're just going to mulch everybody. You know, the only ones that could do anything would be a loose coalition of white-skinned people that come from Europe and other places like that, like Italians, French, Irish, Polish, whatever. That's it. That's the people that they're afraid of. Everybody else, they feel they own, or they'll just step on if they want to. So it's a much larger situation, this pop culture thing. It's not like a battle for pop culture, and once Hollywood realizes they're losing money, they're gonna like turn around and do things different. No, it's not. But the thing is, you got guys that they own perpetuating that idea, like you know, these neurotic people, like, okay, you know, eventually we're gonna get our shit back, or we're gonna see some kind of retribution, or Kathleen Kennedy's gonna get fired. They got you focused on that. They have you busy thinking about that ridiculous shit. That's their job. That's what they're there for. So I don't know. So yeah, that's why that's why all this stuff is being destroyed. It's just their way of using mass media in spellcraft to create the reality they want, where a certain group of people is diminished and vilified as much as possible. That way, when they finally set them up to be destroyed, no one's going to cry, you know. Like, and they've been trying to do that. They're trying to do the domestic tea thing, and they say that the most dangerous thing in the country right now is white supremacy. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what? Where is this? Where, you know what I mean? And what do they mean by that? They can only mean one of, like, I guess, two things. Like, someone who is involved in creating a group or a organization that advocates for white supremacy. That's not only impossible, it can't ever happen. I mean, imagine if you were one of those kind of guys, which I don't even know anyone like that cares on that level. It doesn't make sense. It's illogical. But can you imagine trying to put that stuff together? I mean, you know, your very first meeting, you'd have a bunch of dudes sitting there with the same watches and the same shoes telling you that they know a guy that makes bombs. And that's what it would be. So you can't do that. So that's out. So the only other thing they have is that in your mind, you may think that, or you may espouse this kind of beliefs in your mind. So they have to do something about that. So they got to do something. They don't. It's none of that. It's none of that. It's just another part of the thing to demonize these people. So, you know, it's just like having that neighbor that you can't stand who plays his music loud. When the cops drag him out of the house, you're just like, good, I hate that guy. That's kind of what they're going for here. So that's one thing I jotted down in a note. I think it was actually like only like a paragraph long, but I just dragged it out way too long. But I hope you get the point, or what I'm trying to say. And it's just a theory, like everything here. But I think there's some merit to it. I mean, I think there's some merit to it because it's my theory, but you know. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.